She selflessly offered her lunch to a wandering stray without a second thought, a simple act of kindness. Yet, when dawn broke the next day, no one was prepared for the extraordinary consequences of that small gesture. In a modest suburban neighborhood, where small houses lined quiet streets and children's laughter often floated on the breeze, an unremarkable day took a heartwarming turn. 8-year-old Mia, known for her shy smile and gentle nature, packed her usual ham and cheese sandwich for school. During lunchtime, instead of enjoying her break in the crowded cafeteria, she slipped outside to the schoolyard's edge, seeking a spot of sunshine away from the noisy chatter. That was when she spotted an emaciated, mud-streaked dog sniffing around for scraps by the trash bin. Though the stray had ragged fur and tired eyes, something in its gaze tugged at Mia's heart. She hadn't seen this dog before, perhaps it was new to the area or simply passing through, but its ribs were painfully visible, and each labored breath hinted at hunger and fatigue. Without hesitation, Mia approached slowly, careful not to startle it. She set her sandwich on the ground and stepped back, watching as the dog cautiously inched forward, nose quivering in uncertainty. After a moment's hesitation, it devoured the offering, its tail giving a timid wag that spoke of gratitude despite its fear. When the lunch bell rang, Mia reluctantly returned to her classroom, leaving the dog behind. She told no one about what she'd done, unsure how her teacher or classmates might react to her feeding a stray. Yet, as she walked home that afternoon, Mia's thoughts circled back to the dog. Where would it go tonight? Would it find more food? She wished she could offer more than one sandwich, but she had so little control over her own meals, relying on her parents' modest budget. Little did Mia know that this unassuming act of kindness would set into motion events beyond her imagination. For while most stray dogs wandered off after a single meal, this particular canine would return, not simply to beg for scraps. The next morning, something so astonishing would transpire that Mia's quiet routine would never be the same again. In the hush of that suburban night, the wheels of fate turned, weaving a small child's compassion into a chain of consequences that would leave the entire neighborhood speechless. Early the next morning, Mia woke to the gentle hum of the household. Her mother bustled in the kitchen, preparing coffee, while her father checked emails on a battered laptop. The usual school day routine was in motion, but Mia's mind drifted to the ragged dog she'd fed the day before. As she dressed, she wondered if it was still wandering the streets, stomach growling, searching for scraps. Her heart tightened at the memory of its sunken eyes and trembling posture. Even so, the thought that she had helped, if only for a single meal, brought a shy sense of pride. After a quick breakfast of cereal, Mia gathered her school books and lunch bag. She glanced inside, noting her mother had packed an extra piece of fruit this time, a small orange that Mia secretly vowed to keep handy in case the stray appeared again. She couldn't stop picturing the dog's silent gratitude. Her mother, noticing Mia's distant expression, asked if everything was all right. Mia offered a half smile, nodding. She didn't share her thoughts. She didn't want her parents worrying or insisting she avoid stray animals. On the short walk to school, Mia passed rows of modest houses and tidy lawns. The sky was a quiet blue, and a gentle breeze rustled leaves along the sidewalk. A few neighbors waved from driveways, warming the air with friendly greetings. Normally, Mia would wave back with a bright smile, but today she felt a subdued eagerness in her steps. She found herself scanning corners, fences, and shrubbery for any sign of the stray. Yet, as she neared the schoolyard, no trace of the dog emerged, no wagging tail, no gaunt form sniffing around dumpsters. With a twinge of disappointment, Mia joined the throng of students hurrying inside. When the bell rang, classes passed in a blur, spelling tests, math drills, and a science lesson on plant growth. Her thoughts intermittently floated to the dog's uncertain fate. She considered slipping out during lunch as before, but her teacher, Ms. Carter, insisted on a special classroom activity. By the time Mia had the chance to peek outside, lunch break was nearly over, and the playground was bustling with classmates. No stray dog was in sight. Suppressing a sigh, she reminded herself that she'd done what she could. Maybe the dog had moved on or found another kind soul to feed it. As the final bell sounded, Mia trudged out with her backpack, trying not to appear crestfallen. She told herself maybe the dog would appear tomorrow, or maybe never. She'd offered kindness, and sometimes that was enough. Halfway home, she paused at the sight of the empty spot near the school fence where she'd left the sandwich. Nothing stirred but a gust of wind blowing dust across the pavement. Exhaling, Mia continued on her way, feeling a gentle pang of regret. The rest of the evening unfolded routinely. A short period of homework, a quiet dinner of rice and vegetables, then a bit of TV. Her parents asked if she wanted to walk to the corner store for milk, but Mia shook her head. She found herself unusually tired. Before bed, she knelt beside her small window, gazing at the star-flecked sky. She whispered a soft hope, "Please let the dog be safe, let it find food or someone who cares." After clicking off her bedside lamp, she curled up under a worn blanket, drifting into dreams of chasing a playful dog through sunlit fields, far from any hunger or fear. When morning arrived, the house hummed with its familiar routine. Emma awoke with a lingering drowsiness and hurried to get dressed. She glanced at the clock, realizing she had less time than usual. It was only when she stepped into the living room that she noticed something amiss in her parents' demeanor. Her father, a subdued man who rarely showed alarm, stood by the window, peering out. Her mother, hands folded tensely, beckoned MIA over. Confused, MIA joined them, her heart fluttering with sudden anticipation. Outside, near the front porch, huddled the same skinny dog from yesterday. It lay on the doormat, seemingly waiting for something. MIA pressed her face to the window pane, eyes widening. Could it be that it remembered her? The father, noticing Mia's astonished look, opened the door a crack, calling softly to the stray. At first, the dog retreated a step, but then it recognized Mia's form behind him, her cautious wave, the same gentle eyes as before. Ears perking, the dog took a trembling step forward, tail giving a tentative wag. Mia's mother exhaled in bewilderment. "Is that dog waiting for you?" she asked, half in wonder, half in concern. Mia's excitement bubbling, answered with a quiet stammer, "He must have followed my scent from school, or perhaps he just roamed the streets all night, drawn to the one person who offered him kindness." The mother, protective instincts roused, hesitated. "He looks so thin," she murmured, scanning the dog's protruding ribs and matted fur. "He might be sick or carrying fleas." Yet Mia's father, once an amateur caretaker of stray cats in his youth, softened at the sight. "He came here for a reason," he reasoned gently. "We should at least feed him, maybe check if he's hurt." In that moment, the parents exchanged a silent debate. Allowing a stray dog near their daughter carried risks, diseases, unknown temperament, possible aggression. Yet the gentle way the dog gazed at MIA, and Mia's own unwavering compassion, swayed them. The father ventured outside, inching closer with slow, deliberate movements. The dog tensed but didn't flee, its weary eyes glued to the man's cautious approach. Meanwhile, MIA cracked the door further, a half-smile trembling on her lips. She still touched her lunch bag, which contained an extra sandwich thanks to her mother's thoughtful packing. Within minutes, the father set a small dish of water on the porch. MIA knelt beside it, extending bits of bread from her sandwich. The dog, as if recalling the previous day's mercy, crept forward, muscles taut. When it finally took the morsel from Mia's outstretched hand, the father saw tears well in his daughter's eyes. This wasn't a random stray soliciting scraps but a creature that recognized her kindness and braved the night's cold to seek her out. Over the next hour, as MIA coaxed the dog into part of the yard, the parents realized a profound moment had arrived. They had the chance to help this animal more substantially and, in doing so, perhaps impart a deeper lesson to their daughter about responsibility and compassion. However, as neighbors passed by, some paused with puzzled expressions, uncertain how to react to the sight of the stray on Mia's porch. Whispers arose, should the family take it in, or call animal control? The father, though sympathetic, wrestled with uncertainty. Financially, they weren't flush with spare funds for vet bills, but sending the dog away to an overcrowded shelter might seal its fate. MIA, face bright with hope, offered no hesitation. "He found us for a reason," she insisted softly. "One small act of kindness led the dog here. What else might our second act bring?" In the gentle morning sun, the father patted the dog's coarse fur, resolving to see just how unexpected life could get when you open your door to a hungry stray. Morning sunlight lit up the modest front yard, where MIA and her parents now faced an unexpected decision. The stray dog, grateful yet timid, had spent part of the early hours dozing on their doormat, as if unwilling to leave the one place that offered a shred of comfort. By the time MIA was ready for school, the dog's presence had become the topic of hushed family debate. Her mother, who typically championed practicalities, worried about fleas, potential diseases, and the cost of veterinary care. "We barely have room in our budget," she murmured absently, stirring coffee. MA, biting her lip, cradled a piece of leftover chicken in her hand, eager to offer the dog breakfast. The father, more soft-hearted than he sometimes let on, glanced through the window at the dog's haggard appearance, recalling the loyalty animals sometimes showed when they sensed true compassion. "He found his way to our doorstep," he reasoned gently. "We owe him at least some help." Hearing those words, Mia's eyes lit with relief. She hurried outside, father in tow, brandishing the small plate of chicken. At the sight of them, the stray lifted its head, tail thumping once against the ground, tentative but hopeful. Mia approached carefully, her father watching for any sign of aggression. But the dog merely scooted closer, muzzle quivering. Without ceremony, it devoured the chicken bits, seemingly too hungry to be choosy. Mia beamed at the father. "See? He's sweet." The father patted the dog's neck, ruffling coarse fur. "He's definitely underweight," he murmured, concern creeping into his tone. Any illusions of a simple morning routine faded as the father realized Emma needed to get to school soon. The mother, stepping onto the porch with car keys in hand, hesitated. "We can't leave him here unsupervised," she whispered. "What if he wanders off or tries to get inside the house searching for food?" The father considered locking the dog in their fenced backyard, but that felt callous, especially without knowing how it would react to confinement. Emma pleaded, "Dad, can't we bring him in just for the day so he doesn't run away?" Her mother hesitated, eyebrows knitting with worry. In the end, practicality won over. The father decided to coax the dog into the backyard, setting out water and a makeshift shelter under the carport's overhang. "We'll see if he stays," he offered gently. Time pressed them. Mia was already late. She and her mother rushed into the car while the father remained behind to finalize the dog's temporary setup. After patting the stray's head, he murmured, "We'll be back soon, boy." The dog's eyes followed him, haunted by a lifetime of distrust yet sparked by the faintest flicker of faith. Locking the gate, the father left for work on foot, glancing over his shoulder every few paces. Part of him feared the dog would vanish, another part worried it might cause trouble or injure itself. But this felt like the only option for now. Throughout the day, Mia's mind flitted between schoolwork and concern for the dog. She found it difficult to focus on her spelling quiz or group activities, drawn instead to images of the stray pacing in her yard. At lunchtime, she fiddled with her sandwich, recalling how the simple act of giving away her lunch had sparked all this. A friend, noticing her distraction, asked if she felt okay. Mia managed a small nod, not ready to share the entire story with classmates who might not understand. Yet a soft sense of excitement brewed in her. There was a dog waiting at her home, reliant on her family's compassion. She couldn't help but wonder if this might become a permanent rescue scenario, or if the dog would slip away before evening. When she arrived home, the father greeted her in the driveway, a cautious smile on his face. "He's still there," he said, nodding toward the backyard. Mia's eyes lit up, relief washing over her. Sure enough, peering through the gate, they saw the stray curled in a corner, dozing fitfully. The father explained that during lunch, he checked on the dog and offered more water, plus a small bowl of leftover rice and scraps. "He's so hungry," he murmured, like he hasn't eaten well in days. Yet tensions arose that evening when the mother returned from work and discovered the father browsing local veterinary websites. "We can't afford an expensive vet bill," she reminded him, voice tight with stress. But the father argued gently, "We at least need to see if he's injured or sick. We can't keep him in the yard otherwise, it's irresponsible." Mia hovered in the hallway, heart pounding. She dreaded the mother's final words being no, or that the dog might be turned out again. But the mother, glancing at Mia's anxious expression, softened. "Let's see what a basic checkup costs," she sighed. "No promises on long-term care." Yet that compromise gave way to a new plan. The following day, they'd attempt to coax the dog into the car for a quick vet visit. Emma's father was no stranger to handling nervous animals, having grown up on a farm, so he felt reasonably confident they could manage without sedation or force. Emma, thrilled by the chance to help properly, spent the night crocheting a small blanket for the dog, a lopsided creation of mismatched yarn but made with earnest affection. Neighbors soon caught wind of the stray's presence. A few popped by with kind advice or dog food samples, while others cautioned that harboring a stray might bring fleas or legal issues if it bit someone. One even mentioned calling animal control to avoid liability. The father juggled these varied opinions with polite neutrality, determined to make the right choice for both the dog and his family. Each passing comment reminded him of how precarious this arrangement was. Emma, though, bristled at any suggestion of handing the dog over to a shelter. She whispered to Rex at the fence, "We won't let them take you away. I promise." Thus, as night fell again, the family found themselves stepping gingerly into the responsibilities of rescue. Emma's mother rummaged through the pantry for leftover soup bones, eyeing the father uncertainly. The father, in turn, weighed the cost of a vet visit against the moral burden of turning away a helpless creature. And Emma curled up on the couch, imagining the dog asleep in the backyard, dreaming of a life free from hunger and fear. In that subtle hush, the family collectively realized something extraordinary had begun. A single act of lunchtime kindness had entwined them with a stray who needed far more than just a sandwich. Whether they'd face financial strain, neighborly objections, or heartbreak if the dog proved too wild, none could deny the sense of promise, even destiny, in the dog's choice to trust them. Little did they know, the unexpected turn that awaited them all would surpass anything they might envision. A lesson in how compassion, once offered, can spark a chain of miracles far larger than one humble suburban yard. That night, a soft rain drummed on the roof as Emily lay awake, listening to each gentle patter. Her mind refused to quiet. Thoughts of the stray dog in their yard flickered with each beat of rain. She worried about whether the small shelter under the carport kept him dry, if he felt safe alone in the dark. A glance at her bedside clock told her it was almost midnight. Finally, unable to quell her curiosity, she slipped out of bed, tiptoed down the hallway, and carefully opened the back door just enough to peek outside. Moonlight shimmered on the puddled cement, revealing the dog curled atop the mismatched blankets her father had left. Emily's soft questioning whisper, "Hey, you okay, boy?" drew the dog's head up. Its eyes reflected the faint glow, revealing a weary acceptance. Emily's heart twisted at how pitiful it looked, fur-soaked in places the carport roof didn't fully shield. She longed to beckon him inside but also respected her parents' caution. Instead, she whispered, "We'll take you to the vet tomorrow, get you feeling better." She couldn't tell if the dog understood, but it blinked at her, a small sign of acknowledgement. Reluctantly, Emily closed the door, tiptoeing back to her room. Sleep claimed her soon after, laced with dreams of the dog racing across sunlit fields, free from neglect. Morning arrived with a crisp clarity after the rain. While Emily helped her mother set the table for breakfast, her father ventured out to the backyard. She hovered anxiously, waiting for a verdict. He returned, face pensive yet hopeful. "He's still there," he reported, "and seems willing to let me near him. No snarling this time." Emily's eyes lit up. "So we can try the vet?" The father nodded, detailing a plan. He'd open the side gate, coax the dog with gentle commands and food, then guide it into the car. Emily would wait in the house until he was sure it was safe. A flutter of excitement and nerves danced in Emily's stomach. The moment came soon after. The father prepared a leash, an old, soft harness he once used for walking a neighbor's dog. Calmly, he approached the stray, kneeling a few feet away, murmuring reassuring words. The dog eyed the harness warily, ears half flattened, but didn't back away. In slow increments, the father slipped the harness around its narrow chest. Emily peeked from the porch, hands clasped in silent support. Though the dog tensed, it allowed the father to tighten the straps without a fight. A soft sigh of relief escaped him. "Let's get you some help," he said quietly. Leading the dog to the car was a delicate dance. It barked at the sight of the vehicle, tail tucking, but a few gentle tugs plus the promise of more leftover chicken loaded inside. Emily perched beside her mother in the back seat, maintaining a soothing tone. Once the dog settled on a blanket, the father started the engine. The car ride to the vet clinic, an unassuming building on the edge of town, felt surreal for Emily. She sensed how each bump, each unfamiliar smell, might overwhelm the dog. Still, he stayed in place, muzzle resting on Emily's lap after a few cautious sniffs, a silent testament to the trust blooming between them. At the clinic, the veterinarian, Dr. Williams, a gentle middle-aged woman with kind eyes, welcomed them. "So, let's see what we have here," she murmured, guiding them into an exam room smelling faintly of antiseptic. The dog trembled at the metallic table, yet not once did it snap or growl at the vet's touch. Emily's father explained the situation. They'd found it lurking around, underweight and apparently homeless, but with a gentle disposition that suggested no major aggression. Dr. Williams nodded, listening intently while checking the dog's teeth, eyes, and coat. The diagnosis came quickly: malnourished, mild dehydration, possible flea infestation, but no immediate signs of severe injury or illness. "A bit of TLC," Dr. Williams concluded, "and he should recover nicely if you're committed." Here emerged the first twist, a major revelation in Emily's eyes. The dog wasn't as old or broken as it appeared. Under the grime and exhaustion lay a moderately young canine, likely only a year or two past puppyhood. Dr. Williams surmised it might be a mix of a shepherd or hound breed, ironically strong and resilient if given proper care. While it certainly had endured neglect, there was no sign of abuse or aggression. "His temperament's quite stable," the vet added, glancing at Emily. "If you keep him, he could become a wonderful companion." Though it would take time and resources, the mother and father exchanged glances, uncertain. Emily's face glowed with hope. She piped up, uncharacteristically bold, "We'll do it, right, Dad?" The father hesitated, weighed down by financial constraints and the gravity of taking in a new pet. The mother, pressing her lips together, questioned Dr. Williams about costs, vaccines, flea treatment, potential spaying or neutering. Though not extravagant, it amounted to a strain on their tight budget. Sensing their conflict, Dr. Williams offered an understanding nod, proposing a reduced fee for basic treatments. Explaining that sometimes local charities helped offset stray dog expenses, she said softly, "I believe in giving these animals a second chance." As they left the clinic with the dog now sporting fresh flea medication and a small bandage from a minor scratch, Emily clutched a pamphlet on caring for rescues. Her mind spun with plans. She'd help with chores to offset costs, maybe tutor younger kids for spare change, or skip an upcoming school trip if it meant affording the dog's needs. The father recognized her determination, his gaze softened. He saw that the stray wasn't just a random dog anymore, it had become Emily's cause, a reflection of her gentle heart. On the drive home, Emily lovingly petted the dog's neck, murmuring, "We'll fix you up, get you strong. You'll see." The dog's eyelids drooped under sedation from the flea meds, resting quietly, trusting these humans who offered more than a single sandwich. Watching them in the rearview mirror, the father felt a pang. Are we truly ready for this commitment? Can we manage another mouth to feed? Yet deeper than worry lay a blossoming conviction. Emily's kindness had brought the stray this far, perhaps that same kindness would carry them through any difficulties ahead. Pulling into their driveway, clouds parted, allowing a shaft of sunlight to illuminate the dog's weary eyes. Emily's mother unbuckled, gently assisting the father in guiding the dog out of the car. The dog gingerly tested the ground, ears perked at the familiar yard. The harness and leash felt odd around its shoulders, but it followed Emily, tail brushing her calf in what looked like gratitude. Over the next few hours, they introduced the dog to a comfy old blanket indoors, just in the utility room for now, while ensuring it didn't panic in an enclosed space. As dusk fell, Emily's mother prepared a modest meal of rice, scrambled eggs, and bits of leftover chicken for their new guest. Emily, kneeling, set the bowl down. The dog sniffed wearily before devouring it. A hush enveloped the moment. Something deeper than a typical pet adoption was unfolding. Emily sensed it in the dog's eyes, the father sensed it in Emily's unwavering resolve, and the mother, though cautious, sensed it in the hush of the home where a second chance for both child and stray took root under one roof. The morning after the vet visit brought a mix of excitement and trepidation to Mia's home. The stray, newly identified as young, malnourished but overall healthy, slept peacefully in the utility room, breathing softly on the tattered blanket Mia had set out. As her father brewed coffee, Mia tiptoed over to check on the dog, delight lighting her eyes when she found it gazing at her with cautious curiosity. The sight of its ears perked at her approach tugged at her heartstrings, reminding her of just how far they'd come in such a short time. Her mother, though still wary of the family's financial constraints, couldn't deny the dog's calm demeanor now that it had some basic care. She stood in the doorway with arms folded, scanning the dog's thin frame. "He looks better already," she murmured, noting its more alert posture. Mia and her father exchanged relieved smiles. While they still faced the reality of more vet bills, vaccinations looming, possibly spaying or neutering, they couldn't help but feel the dog's presence brought a gentle warmth to the household. Yet the father recognized that adopting a stray was no simple undertaking. He began drawing up mental lists of responsibilities. Where would the dog sleep long-term? How would they manage feeding costs on top of existing expenses? What about potential training if behavioral issues emerged? Sensing his inward turmoil, Mia offered to help more around the house, perhaps do small tasks for neighbors to earn pocket money. "We can make it work," she insisted, with a determined gleam in her eye. Her father patted her shoulder, a soft smile crossing his features. "Let's take it day by day," he replied. "We don't even know his name yet." That question, naming the dog, sparked a friendly debate during breakfast. Mia suggested everything from Lucky to Shadow, while her mother pointed out the dog's soulful brown eyes, which might fit a name like Rusty. The father, half amused, cautioned that they should wait until they felt sure they were keeping the dog. "Otherwise, it'll be harder if we decide we can't handle this." Mia's face fell at the idea of giving up the stray, but she nodded, understanding the caution. For now, they simply called him Buddy, a placeholder that carried a glimmer of affection. Meanwhile, news of the family's decision to shelter the stray percolated through the neighborhood. Some neighbors, touched by Mia's kindness, applauded the father for stepping up. Mrs. Parker, across the street, dropped off a bag of old dog toys her grandchildren no longer used. Every dog deserves a chance, she insisted, winking at MIA. However, another neighbor, Mr. Kemp, voiced concerns. What if he's got a hidden aggression? Are you sure it's safe for MIA? He pressed, crossing his arms. The father calmly explained the vet's assessment of the dog's gentle temperament, yet Mr. Kemp remained skeptical. Just keep that mutt from roaming onto my property, he grunted, walking off. MIA overheard the exchange, a flicker of hurt crossing her face. She never wanted to cause conflict among neighbors. Behind closed doors, the mother relayed her own reservations. We need to be prepared if he has fleas or ticks we haven't spotted yet, or if he chews up furniture. She eyed the ragged couch in their small living room, imagining further. The father assured her they could confine the dog to certain rooms while adjusting, plus bathe him regularly. It's not going to be easy, he admitted, but look at Emma. This is the happiest I've seen her in ages. Indeed, Mia's glow each time she interacted with the dog was unmistakable, a testament to the bond forming between them. One afternoon, as MIA headed to school, she found herself absent-mindedly humming a tune. Her thoughts drifted from math tests to the dog's brightening eyes and playful tail wags. At recess, she confided in her best friend, Lily, about how the dog had stayed overnight in their utility room. Lily's eyes widened in excitement. That's awesome. Are you naming him? MIA shrugged, cheeks flushing. Not yet, but I'm calling him Buddy until we decide. Lily, brimming with enthusiasm, asked if she could visit after school to meet the newest addition. MIA hesitated. Her father hadn't fully opened the house to visitors, especially with the dog still acclimating. Ultimately, she promised to ask permission, part of her feeling a swell of pride wanting to show Lily how a single sandwich had led to this magical turn of events. Back at home, routine adjustments began in earnest. The father rearranged a corner of the utility room with an old dog bed a neighbor donated, plus a small set of bowls for food and water. He and MIA took turns walking the dog around their backyard on a leash, allowing it to stretch its legs safely without risking escape. Each trek revealed the dog's skittishness around sudden noises. A slammed car door or a honking horn would send Buddy cowering behind them. He needs reassurance, Mia's father remarked, voice tinged with empathy. Who knows what he's been through? MA, stroking the dog's scruffy ears, vowed silently to ease each fear, one day at a time. A visit to Dr. Williams confirmed the dog's stable progress. No major health alarms beyond underweight and mild flea issues, both solvable with consistent care and balanced nutrition. The father breathed easier, while MA practically bounced on her toes, asking for tips on teaching Buddy gentle commands. The vet, smiling at Mia's enthusiasm, recommended patience and positive reinforcement. Given his calm demeanor, I suspect he'll learn quickly, she paused, glancing at the father. But do remember he's had a rough life. He might form intense attachments or exhibit anxiety in unfamiliar settings. Such warnings rang true sooner than expected. That evening, a mild thunderstorm rolled in, thunder rumbling like distant drums. At the first crash of lightning, Buddy bolted from the utility room, scrabbling through the half-open door into the living room, panicked. He scrambled under the dining table, whining as thunder rattled the windows. MIA dashed over, crooning soft words, draping a small blanket over his trembling body. The father watched the scene with a mixture of concern and admiration. Despite Buddy's terror, he accepted Mia's presence as solace rather than lashing out or fleeing. Outside, he trusts you, the father murmured to MIA, relief blending with the realization that a stable, loving environment was already helping the dog form a secure bond. By bedtime, the storm subsided, leaving Buddy curled at Mia's feet while she read a bedtime story aloud, an unplanned but comforting routine. The mother allowed it for the night, touched by the tender image of a once-forsaken stray dog resting in warmth, lulled by a child's soft voice. MA, drifting off, felt the weight of the day's challenges tempered by the dog's heartbeat near her ankles. In her dreams, the road of uncertainty stretched out, but so did the promise of steadfast loyalty from a creature that once had only loneliness. If a single sandwich had already kindled so much change, who could guess what further wonders might unfold from this unanticipated bond? The first few days after rescuing the stray passed in a blur of adjustments. Mia's once quiet home bristled with small crises and tender moments. With every sunrise, the stray, still referred to as Buddy, grew stronger, his ribs gradually less pronounced as he devoured proper meals. MIA delighted in teaching him gentle commands like sit and stay, though her father reminded her not to push too fast. He's still settling in, figuring out if we're permanent, he said gently, watching Buddy wag his tail in cautious acceptance. Yet fresh complications soon arose. Word got around the neighborhood that Mia's family had taken in a stray. While some neighbors, especially those who witnessed Mia's kindness firsthand, offered praise and even donated spare blankets or dog food, others worried about potential noise or safety issues. One elderly couple next door, set in their ways, nervously questioned the father about the dog's vaccination status and training. "We just don't want any trouble," the wife murmured, eyeing Buddy with a faint frown. Though polite, they hinted they'd complain to the landlord if they felt the dog posed a nuisance. Finances presented a subtler but no less pressing challenge. Emma's parents lived on a tight budget, juggling mortgage payments and everyday bills. Additional vet costs for shots and possible future checkups weighed on the mother's mind. During a hushed conversation one evening, the father admitted, "We can't shoulder this alone. If something major happens, like surgery or a big health crisis." The mother, sipping tea, exhaled. "I know, but how can we turn him out now?" Neither had an answer, leaving an unspoken resolve to make it work somehow. Meanwhile, MIA discovered new emotional layers to caring for an animal. Each morning before school, she'd rise early to walk Buddy around the block, leashing him carefully to avoid any chance he'd wander off. He still startled at sudden sounds, a car horn, a clattering trash bin, but MIA learned to soothe him with a calm voice and gentle strokes. More than once, friends from school spotted her guiding a thin, timid dog down the sidewalk, shooting her curious glances. MIA, shy as ever, shrugged off their questions, privately cherishing each improvement Buddy made, whether a more confident stance or a softer gleam in his once dull eyes. In this evolving dynamic, Dr. Williams, the veterinarian, introduced a potential subplot. She mentioned that a small rescue organization in the next county might help with spay and neuter expenses, offering a discounted rate for found strays. "They can also list him on their website if you decide you can't keep him," she added gently. Mia's heart clenched at the notion of giving Buddy away, though her father expressed relief at the financial assistance. The mere thought of letting go forced a knot into Mia's throat. She confided in Buddy that night while lying on the living room rug, murmuring, "I want you to stay, but I'm scared we can't afford it all." Buddy responded by resting his muzzle on her knee, silent but comforting. A further subplot emerged when Ms. Henderson, Mia's teacher, heard rumors of Buddy's rescue and asked if MIA might do a brief show and tell about her new friend, minus the dog, of course, as the school had no pet policy. MIA blushed at the suggestion but felt a spark of pride. Maybe she could share how a simple act of giving away her lunch led to a transformation in both her life and the dog's. The father, upon hearing this, encouraged MIA to practice a little speech. It might inspire other kids to show compassion, he reasoned. Shyness tugged at Mia's nerves, but the chance to champion Buddy's story appealed to her nonetheless. Not everyone was thrilled, however. A new hint of opposition bubbled up when a passing conversation revealed Mr. Kemp, an outspoken neighbor, grumbling about another dog barking at odd hours. Though Buddy rarely barked unless startled, Mr. Kemp insisted he'd heard noise at night. The father suspected it was the neighbor's own yard dog or a random stray, but, empathizing with Mr. Kemp's frustration, led him to vow they'd ensure Buddy stayed inside if unsettled after dark. MIA, overhearing her father's attempt at diplomacy, realized how precarious it felt to integrate Buddy into a neighborhood where not everyone welcomed a rescue case. On top of this, one afternoon, a mail carrier knocked with a letter from the city council updating local ordinances. The father skimmed the text, mentioning leash laws, required vaccinations, and potential fines if a dog was found roaming. The mother, eyeing the ragged couch in their small living room, imagined further wear and tear. "We just have to stay on top of everything," the father responded, feeling the weight of one more responsibility. In the midst of these subplots, Buddy made a small but dramatic breakthrough during a casual training session in the backyard. The father tested a light recall command, "Buddy, come." And the dog instantly trotted over, tail wagging, no hesitation. MIA, witnessing the moment, clapped in excitement. Her father ruffled the dog's ears, a warm pride filling his chest. This was a sign that Buddy recognized them as his people, a newfound trust blossoming in place of the weariness that once defined him. The mother, watching from the window, felt her guarded heart soften further. For each worry or complaint from neighbors, she saw how Buddy's gentle spirit enriched Mia's daily life. That night, after dinner, the family huddled around their small dining table, discussing a name for the dog. Each threw out ideas: Lucky, Scout, Prince, Buster. Laughter and debate filled the modest kitchen as they whittled down the list, looking for one that suited his gentle but brave nature. In the end, with a victorious grin, Mia's mother suggested Chance, a nod to the dog's second chance at a real home. The father smiled. MIA beamed. And so, Chance it became, the stray's identity now woven tighter into their family story. Amid these subtle challenges, neighborly doubts, financial burdens, and critical hoops, Chance's presence stirred hope in the household. Mia found new meaning in her everyday routines. Her father, though weighed by adult concerns, recognized that each small triumph, like hearing Chance's cautious bark greet him at the door, was worth the struggle. Even the mother, typically pragmatic, started leaving out an extra bite of leftover meat for Chance at breakfast, patting his head in a fond gesture as she left for work. Thus, as each subplot wove deeper into their lives, Chance's quiet, unassuming loyalty became a bright thread, steadily guiding them toward an unexpected resolution that no one could have foreseen. Weeks slipped by, carrying both small victories and subtle tensions into Mia's household. Chance, the name they'd finally settled on, relaxed more each day, reveling in the consistent meals and gentle attention. His once frail,